Alrighty, hello everybody, welcome to Thursday Night Pioneer here at Paradise Games. I'm Alex, joining me here for the first round is James.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me tonight. We've got some hot action here going on tonight. We got a little bit of Jesse playing Niv Mizzet, 5-color Niv to Light.
On the left.
Yeah. Yeah, he is on the left, actually. I think our graphics will have to get updated real quick. And we have Pete hanging out, playing some green-black Delirium. So
on the right.
So we've got this should be... I can't imagine that Jesse, as long as he functions with his 5-color Niv Mizzet deck, I would hope that he should be favored in this like mid-rangey matchup. This deck's just built to go so far over the top of whatever other mid-range piles that are going on that I certainly assume that Jesse should be a favorite in this matchup. But we see a reasonable clock getting established here on turn number 2 from Pete as a Grim Flare enters the battlefield for him. Kolaghan's Command off the top. That's a nice one. That'll be a pretty clean answer to Grim Flare, assuming we have an untapped mana as Sheltered Grove pulled to the front. That one does not do the thing. So it looks like
cut is good.
Yeah, it's just going to have to settle for a cut here to take out the Grim Flare. Not too bad. Sends it back over to Pete as he draws Thoughtseize. So what do you think Pete's real main plan is here in this matchup?
Exactly this.
Yeah, just Thoughtseize. I tend to agree.
Yeah, you got to get the busted cards, cards out of his hand.
the cards that are just going to generate too much value for you to beat. Like for example, this Niv Mizzet
You
Reborn.
probably just take this Niv Mizzet here. He has too many removal spells for you to care to take one.
Ooh, he does take the Kolaghan's Command.
Oh, he's thinking. Unless he has a clean answer to this Niv Mizzet, which is maybe Assassin's Trophy.
There aren't really clean answers to Niv Mizzet. Because even if you're Assassin's Trophying it, it's still resolving.
It's still resolving.
And you're still getting the trigger, yeah.
That's a Siege Rhino? Yeah, yes. He probably also doesn't beat Siege Rhino.
Pete's like, really? Oh, man.
This hand is
just
unbeatable.
waffled back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. The fact that he didn't even consider Niv Mizzet Reborn is a little interesting. Maybe that means that he's got another Thoughtseize in his hand.
Or maybe he's never been on the receiving end of one.
Yeah. And here we'll see Jesse shock in a Temple Garden, then cast that Siege Rhino that Pete was oh so scared of. It'll put Jesse up to 21, Pete down to 17.
Jesse, all the green and white mana he can want.
Yeah, we're a little short on our other colors here.
This Niv isn't being cast anytime soon.
Yeah, well, it is actually relatively close to being cast. We need a single... Well, only one, because the Frontier Bivouac there can tap for blue or red.
Oh, is that what we have on the battlefield?
Yeah, so it's Temple Garden, Scattergroves, Swamp, and Frontier Bivouac, which is the tapped Teamer land. Mm-hmm. So Sylvan Caryatid will actually allow Jesse to cast the Niv Mizzet on the next turn. And here we see Vraska, the Golgari Queen, come down for Pete, and I expect that we're just going to see Jesse go ahead and smack that thing down to 2. Ooh, at Pete.
Ooh, getting aggressive.
Aggressive. Not a huge fan of that attack. I think I'd rather just attack the Vraska. I don't think that's really what this matchup is about at a cursory glance, but you know, Jesse does have a
Baron of Escopa main.
Oh dear lord, it sure is. You know, you got to get your black-white cards, you know?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I love that card, but
what's it doing here?
I thought it was a sideboard card.
All right, here comes that second copy of Thoughtseize.
Notably,
as speculated.
Blood Baron, very good.
Yeah. Here's another unbeatable 5-mana spell.
We're taking the Niv Mizzet, leaving this Blood Baron for hunting season. Yeah, I don't know how we're getting past this Blood Baron.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for Pete to get past Blood Baron. The card's really insane. Here's another Grim Flare here from Pete. Do we have Delirium? Quick check. Looks like no.
5 check? No.
Yeah, I only count 3 in sorcery, land, and creature in the bin there for Pete. So just a 2/2 Grim Flare, which is pretty unfortunate in the face of that Oath of Kaya that you just left in your opponent's hand there. So we'll see if Jesse elects that now's the time to spring that Oath of Kaya into action, and we'll see if he elects that now's a good time to attack that Vrask, or if he wants to just keep going at Pete's life total directly. Looks like it is an attack at Pete's life total directly.
I'd be pretty inclined to kill this Grim Flare now.
Yeah, it's going to be rough for the Grimflayer to get an attack through.
I guess we also have this unbeatable black-white permanent.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for Pete to actually deal with this one. Looks like he's going to dig for some answers, putting Vraska Golgari Queen up to 10. So this is a pretty big problem if it gets to ults, you know, threatening to just kill Jesse on any damage. So obviously most of Pete's deck is black. There's most of his green cards are multicolor green cards, but almost all of his removal spells are going to be black. So this Blood Baron of Vizkopa is going to be very hard to beat.
Meta choice.
Yeah, definitely. And it's worth noting that it's very, very hard for Jesse to get to 30 life in this deck. He has a couple Siege Rhinos, a couple Oath of Kayas and whatnot.
That text doesn't exist on this card.
Yeah, it's mostly a 5-mana 4/4 with lifelink and pro black and white.
Yeah.
And, you know, the lifelink does certainly matter. So here we see a Teferi Time Reveler, and that is going to be lethal.
That's the scooping point.
And yeah, we saw Jesse just kind of go at Pete's life total, and that Vraska never mattered. So some heads up attacks there from Jesse, not ones that I would have made particularly, but it looked like they worked out really well. So well played there. Let's take a look at the sideboards here. So from Jesse, we've got 1 Counterflux, 1 Rakdos' Return, 1 the Scarab God, 1 Solar Blaze, 1 Teferi Hero of Dominaria, 1 Assassin's Trophy, 1 Dragon Lord Jamoka, 1 Vraska Golgari Queen, 1 Knight of Autumn, 1 Kaya Orzhov Usurper, 1 Mordigo, 2 Mystical Dispute, and 2 Rest in Peace. What sounds good here?
You know, the Scarab God sounds good.
Oh yeah, it does. Sign me up for everything that has to do with that. So here's my real question: are we bringing in both the Scarab God and Rest in Peace? It's a little awkward. The question, the second follow-up question is: do we really want Rest in Peace?
I'm not too big on Rest in Peace in this matchup.
Yeah,
like I'd be much more obliged to bring in this Kaya rather than these Rest in Pieces.
Oh, the Kaya seems good. Yeah, I like the Kaya. So we're leaning like some conditional graveyard hate with the Kaya, the Scarab God as some more action. How about Rakdos' Return? You in on this Rakdos' Return as well?
I was thinking Dragon Lord Jamoka.
Oh yeah, that seems good too.
But that's big mana.
We're trying to just bring in most of our like go big mid-rangey stuff. So to me, that package is Rakdos' Return, the Scarab God, potentially Teferi Hero of Dominaria, Dragon Lord Jamoka, and Kaya Orzhov Usurper, given that Pete's deck does sort of hinge on graveyard synergies. So we'll see how much of that Jesse actually finds he has the room for, but I think all of those cards look pretty reasonable to me. Let's take a look at Pete's sideboard, how he's going to combat this deck. Down a game now, he's got 2 Pulse of Marasa, 2 Ashiok Dreamrender, 2 Yahenni's Expertise, 1 Kalidas Trader of Get, 3 Duress, 2 Collective Brutality, 1 Vraska's Contempt, 1 Assassin's Trophy, and a Reclamation Sage. What do you like?
Do we care about this Duress?
I mean, they're probably good. It does strip Bring to Light out of Jesse's hand, which is a pretty big deal. The Bring to Light is how the deck gets a lot of its consistency and its extra copies of the actual card in Mizzet Reborn.
You don't have to tell me that, boyo.
So, in case those of you out there are unaware, James Walton is our resident Bring to Light expert.
Instant sorcery creature.
He's got that. I still can't remember it, so he's got that one down. But yeah, the Duresses seem pretty good to me. Other than that,
Ashiok might be okay.
It could be fine.
For passive text.
Yeah, it shuts off Fabled Passage, which is most of the fixing in Jesse's deck, and Bring to Light, absolutely. And then, there's Assassin's Trophy that kills with any permanent.
I'm much more obliged to bring in an Assassin Trophy or Vraska's Contempt over these Ashioks.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe Collective Brutality, but probably not.
Maybe you think the matchup's just bad enough that you're just trying to gimp your opponent when they have their Fabled Passage hand with an Ashiok.
Maybe just send the 60 back and give up.
Alright, so looks like players have finished sideboarding and have drawn their opening hands for the second game here.
Permanent?
Blood Baron of Vizkopa. You hope they don't have it. It's got to be a one-of. You can find it with Bring to Light, though. It's insane.
None of those cards we looked at deals with this permanent.
Yeah, not a single one. I'm not confident Pete has a card in his deck that deals with it. He might have, a Questing Beast. And, that's all I can think of, right? That's, the best option. So, looks like things starting off a little slow here from both players as we just see a couple of lands from Pete and then a discovery on the second turn of the game from Jesse after he hits us with the Frontier Bivouac into the swamp. Looks like Oath of Kaya and Bring to Light going to hit the bin. Tells me that Jesse probably a little light on lands, as he does not want either of the particularly good cards on top of his deck. Fabled Passage, the draw for the turn now, as he'll play Scattered Groves as his green-white land for turn. Of course, unable to cast the Teferi Time Raveler in his hand. He could, however, Dreadbore this Courser, and he will do just that.
Courser's
send the
insane.
turn.
That makes sense.
Send the turn back over to Pete, who will draw that Assassin's Trophy that both players are now aware of. Assassin's Trophy is certainly quite good, although it's a little awkward leaving it up here if you're Pete, because one of the threats that you'd expect Jesse to jam with, 3 or 4 mana is Teferi, so you can't really hope to just leave up Assassin's Trophy and Trophy whatever you play, because it's like the threats are going to be like Sylvan Caryatid or Teferi, and there is the Scarab God. We mentioned that one being nice.
That Delirium guy,
I would like to pose a question. How are you beating the Scarab God if you're Pete?
Vraska's Contempt.
Is that it?
That's all I got, Chief.
Yep, me too. As it looks like Jesse had the option to play some threats here, but just decided to send the turn back. No rush here. I think he's got a Drown in the Lock in his hand, so he's just deciding to hold that one up, I do believe, at a glance, but I could be wrong. It's hard to see all those cards. And here we see Ishkana Graph Widow coming down from Pete. Do we have Delirium? Oh, he does have Delirium, because Courser is an enchantment creature, of course.
One thing I'd like to note is that Bring to Niv, or Niv to Light, whatever you want to call it, plays one of each basic, I'm pretty sure.
It does, absolutely.
So if you want to, like, Assassin's Trophy them and take them off their mana, it doesn't really help.
Does not really work, yeah. And now we're going to see 5 mana here, and Jesse can assemble all 5 colors, should he like to, and I believe that is what we'll see. I think so. I think that this is Tron, yeah. So he's going to be able to bring to light for anything he wants here. The question is, what does he want here?
Supreme Verdict.
Supreme Verdict looks fine, obviously, but Supreme Verdict is like baseline here. Like, we're getting Supreme Verdict or better. The question is there anything better? And I'm not 100%
this permanent
certain.
kills deals with Bloodbaron of Viscopa. So.
It's true. That's an absolute disaster. So, although I tell you what, Bloodbaron of Viscopa also brick walls Ishkana pretty well. So we'll see what Jesse wants to find. He'll cast the Bring to Light. Let's see what he gets.
Ashiok on 3 looks pretty good here. Just saying.
Yeah, Ashiok on 3 would have been real good this game. Yeah, absolutely. See, looks like Supreme Verdict is pulled to the front there. Looks like it is just going to be Supreme Verdict, so just go ahead and trade our Ishkana for a Bring to Light. And I'm pretty sure Pete's got to be relatively happy with that exchange. I mean, there's only one Supreme Verdict in the deck from Jesse here at usual, as Pete is trying to take him off of a color, and he will get a Swamp, and I do believe that will take him off the 5th color of mana here, at least for now, though I think that Jesse has a Blood Crypt in his hand. So Pete's probably going to be pretty sad about that one. Oh,
another Assassin's Trophy?
2 Assassin's Trophies. Uh-oh.
That might be a blue one, right?
That might be Strip Mine. The Frontier Bivouac?
Yeah.
Yeah, that taps for Teamer.
Yeah.
So Jesse does still have blue mana.
He has a plain... No, he has no more basics in his deck.
Very, very notably, Pete certainly should have Assassin's Trophy the Frontier Bivouac instead of Islands.
I'm very in on that plan.
Yeah, it's certainly much better. And Pete, we see here, is just trying to keep him off of his sources to be able to cast all of his huge 5-color spells. But I believe that Jesse has Wooburg here, regardless, as he just...
It doesn't matter.
Whatever. Scarab God only costs 2 colors.
Is that Ishkana?
This is going to be a nice Ishka. Do we have Delirium is the question.
I don't think we have
I don't think so. I think we only have Sorcery Instant Land. It might just be Sorcery Land, honestly. As I see Supreme Verdict, Bring to Light, Discovery, Dispersal.
Dispersal is instant.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Mm-hmm. All right. So anyway, Courser of Karufix here on the battlefield for Pete. It'll reveal a Castle Lochthwain on top of his deck, and Jesse got to untap.
That's not good.
That's really bad news for Pete.
That's Scarab God mana.
Yeah, no joke.
Like, Delirium or not, I'm pretty in on just taking this Ishkana.
Yeah, it's just a 4/4 spider. Jesse does have Delirium. He has Sorcery, Instant Land, and Enchantment He must have milled an Oath of Kaya earlier in the game. So he's got an enchantment in there. So looks like he's going to start things off by returning Courser of Kruphix to his owner's hand. So that means he will not be activating the Scarab God this turn. He's only going to get to attack for 5.
That's it?
Yeah. So, which is, you know, low bar for untapping with the Scarab God. The low is you get to reanimate your opponent's best creature, and when you do anything else, you're really getting away with something.
Is there a point to playing out this Fabled Passage?
You know, having it in play is probably better than having it in your hand, though I'm not confident that Jesse has another basic, though I must confess I don't know the list well enough to know if he does or does not, but I assume that Jesse's well aware if he does or does not.
Yeah, I think I checked it today. The list today, and I'm pretty sure they only play one of each basic, which we have seen on the battlefield.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
And I might just hold this Fable Passage to bluff more cards as threats or whatever in my hand.
Yeah, sure. Seems mostly marginal for sure.
It's super marginal, but
all right, so
just something I like to know.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at Jesse's hand here. So it's revealed with a Thoughtseize. We see Discovery. Oh, is that Warrant Warden? No, it's Discovery Dispersal. Cut to Ribbons and Utter End, the cards in hand. Therefore, Jesse and Pete's forced to take the Cut to Ribbons, which certainly does not feel great.
No.
But, you know, you do want your Courser of Kruphix to hang around. So now, Jesse goes ahead, points to his trigger. Looks like no Scarab God activation in response to the trigger. Oh, Niv Mizzet off the top.
Is that it?
For Jesse. That's going to be hard for Pete to beat.
Is that Tron?
Thoughtseize bug. Yeah, that's the Thoughtseize bug. For sure. Pete, thinking about chump blocking the Scarab God, looks like he will decide not to.
You know what's bad news, Bears?
Chump blocking the Scarab God. That's usually not a winning play, I agree. I'd be shocked if Jesse does anything other than just windmill slam Niv Mizzet here on this turn.
Like, that's just like at least 5 cards, right?
It's so good. I mean, it's not at least 5 cards. Really, it's going to probably draw you like 3 cards or something, and whatever. It's fine. A 6/6 flyer. Your opponent's at 6.
It's even like power toughness net 1.
Yeah, your opponent is at 6. So here we go. Niv Mizzet has entered the field now.
We do. Oh wait, no, he used those assassin trophies.
Yeah, he's already used both assassin's trophies. I'm sure we would have seen a removal spell pointed at the Scarab God by now. Here we see 10 cards. So there's a Verasco Golgari Queen as well as an Abrupt Decay. Looks like he'll take Blood Baron of Vizkopa, Verasco Golgari Queen, Teferi Time Raveler, and Rakdos Return are the hits here. So only 4 cards. He's given a think to the Vraska over the Abrupt Decay. I think I actually like the Abrupt Decay a little more, as Jesse does agree. And yeah, that seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
It's a 6/6 flyer for 5 that just drew you 4 great cards. It's insane. So, yeah, good luck dealing with this, Pete. And this is really playing out exactly kind of how we expected. Like,
yeah,
here are these just ludicrous bombs. Can you beat them, Pete? And Pete's like, no, I absolutely cannot beat them.
Are you crazy?
Who the hell do you think can beat them? I can't beat these. These are absurd. And obviously, I think if you're trying to play on, like, a relatively fair axis, you're gonna have a real problem with this Niv Mizzet deck. Yeah, like I'm pretty sure if you just have the card Thoughtseize in your deck, you're gonna be a real dog to this Niv Mizzet deck. So we'll see Pete go ahead and activate his Castle Lochthwain, cast the Fatal Push, and then cast the Grimflayer, and then Fatal Push it. So that will be the end of the match. So Jesse kind of cleans Pete up there in a quick 2 games with just bigger mid-range than what Pete's doing. Yeah. It kind of a classic bad matchup there for Pete is you're just looking at what they're doing, so hopeless as to how your cards can ever line up well. You know, you're trying to play Tireless Tracker and stuff like that. You know, you came to grind some people out, but you can't grind that out, you know? It's not going to work.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
There's so many removal spells in there.
Yeah, so many removal spells, so many huge bombs.
So versatile.
Yeah, and not to mention the stupid main deck Blood Baron of Vizkopa, but that is really just rubbing salt in the wounds. Well, I don't think that's particularly standard, but man, does it look good against that deck.
Yeah.
So anyway, well played to Jesse. Let's take a moment to talk about Paradise Games. Paradise Games is the store we are streaming this from. We stream every Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. We've got pre-releases going on all weekend long. We will be streaming the FNM sealed pre-release tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. James, as a matter of fact, I believe you are going to be our featured player for the stream. You're going to be building your deck on camera, all that.
I'm going to be playing Uro, or I'm going home.
Okay, so there's that. So tune in tomorrow at 6:30 for some Uro or bed.
Yeah.
And with that, we're going to leave you guys with the time machine. We'll be back for round number 2. Make sure you guys don't go anywhere.
Buy your snow-covered basics.
Do it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Paradise Games Thursday Night Pioneer. I'm Alex, and I'm going to be bringing you 3 rounds of Pioneer tonight. We have a little bit of Sam versus James, Abzan mid-range versus James on Eldrazi. It's a little bit of blue-green Eldrazi, the usual suspects you would expect to see, the classic Battery Shaper, Thought Knot-Seer, Reality Smasher. We got some Okos in there as well, so this Abzan mid-range deck, though, is definitely starting things off a little interestingly with Double Stitcher Supplier, and there's the Rally the Ancestors. I was about to say that this looks quite a bit more like a Rally the Ancestors deck than a mid-range deck, and sure enough, my suspicions are confirmed here. And here's a nice turn 2 Oko from James. This is pretty format defining as per usual here with Oko. He'll make a food, send it on back to Sam. Definitely interesting what Sam's supposed to do. It largely depends on the quality of his hand. He had a few relevant mills there. I believe he milled a Cruel Celebrant, although I'm not certain what the other notable hits are. I do see the Rally in his hand, so that's certainly worth noting. Nice Elvish Visionary as well, so that's certainly a good one. Nice one to bring back as well. Usually these Rally decks in Pioneer are hoping to be able to rally for 2 instead of the 3 that we saw in Standard with the Nantuko Husks, but I think rally for 2 usually is the goal of these Pioneer Rally decks. But so 4 mana, looks like we could see Sam potentially cast a Rally next turn to try and get a bunch of value, especially if he has a second one. So well, it looks like there's a Cartel Aristocrat that got milled as well, so that seems really good, actually. Sam might be able to do a lot of work with the first Rally here. And James kind of looks like he recognizes the position he's in. Opponent's been setting up really well. Ooh, Thought Knot-Seer, though. That'll be able to take the Rally out of Sam's hand, probably. And that's going to be very, very good. Alright, so let's get a good look here. I see a Nantuko Husk. Oh, it looks like so Sam must actually be planning on Rally for 3, because he does have a Nantuko Husk in here. I believe his hand is Zulaport Cutthroat, Nantuko Husk, and Forest. So 3 pretty good cards here. Oh, that is not a Zulaport Cutthroat. Excuse me. I'm not actually certain what the card in front is there. Looks like James giving it a read as well. Hopefully we'll get production to keep me updated on what that one is, but the fact that that Sam is including the Nantuko Husk in his build tells me that he is planning on doing rallies for 3 as opposed to doing rallies for 2, which is a pretty big difference, I would see. And here we see a Zulaport Cutthroat get milled over. So James is certainly in danger here. If Sam just rips a Rally here, I think James is pretty likely to die. Just from 20, actually, so pretty scary. It looks like Mogus's Marauder was the card in Sam's hand there, so when it's the battlefield, up to X target creatures gain Intimidate and Haste until end of turn. Makes a lot of sense, where X is your devotion to black. Yeah, totally buy that. Looks pretty good. All right. Stubborn Denial. Ooh, that's a good one for James. Stubborn Denial is probably one of the better cards in his deck right now. The Nantuko Husk makes things a little bit awkward for James with the attacking and all that. I honestly think that he should just Elk the Nantuko Husk, and then he'll be able to pretty much attack more or less freely. I mean, looks like Sam could have a potential double block on the Thought Knot-Seer by doing that, but we'll see how this goes. Here, this is interesting. I don't really like this block here from Sam. I mean, Sam could have blocked with an Nantuko Husk and then sacked those creatures, and he could have eaten the Thought-Knot Seer instead of what ended up happening, so I think I would have preferred to see that from Sam. So here's another Thought-Knot Seer. It's going to go ahead and eat the Mogus's Marauder out of Sam's hand. So now just single planes left for Sam, and now we're going to see James really try and take over the game here. He's basically got this one locked up. Sam's going to need a couple of runners here to be able to actually pack this one in. Here's another Mogus's Marauder off the top. So Sam will go ahead and play it, give itself Haste and Intimidate, but that's not really going to do anything. It's still going to stay back to defend. James, Tireless Tracker off the top. Ooh, he's got a Reality Smasher as well. I bet we'll see that one come down. He's still going to want to hold up his Stubborn Denial, of course. I just don't think he's ever going to let Stubborn Denial down. He's in such a commanding position right now that if he just doesn't tap out, he's certainly going to be winning. So here's the Reality Smasher I mentioned. I expect we'll see a land as well to be able to enable the Stubborn Denial, but it looks like James is just going to go ahead and attack first. He's not scared of any instants. We might actually be missing the land to be able to cast the Stubborn Denial. He is, so that's definitely an interesting decision. James elected to take himself out of Stubborn Denial in order to apply a lot of pressure here. This is dangerous. I mean, Sam's going to get 2 looks at a Rally the Ancestors here, and I think it's going to be lethal if Sam finds it, so he'll get the draw off the Thought-Knot Seer plus the draw for turn. It's basically rally or nothing, so he definitely needs to find the rally. He's only at 5, so looks like a couple of lands. That is not going to be it, so we'll see James take game number 1 here. Things looked pretty good there for Sam early, but the Thought-Knot Seers managed to take the rallies out of his hand, and he just ended up kind of bricking off after that, so that's going to be James up 1-0. Let's take a look at the sideboards here for people. Over on Sam's side, we got 2 Voice of Resurgence, 2 Fatal Push, 2 Sin Collector, 1 Plague Crafter, 1 Ashiok Dream Render, 1 Remorseful Cleric, 1 Vraska Golgari Queen, 2 Knight of Autumn, 1 Assassin's Trophy, and 2 Thoughtseize. So we're obviously trying to get our creature package a little bigger and have some more resilience here. So Fatal Push, pretty good, assuming that we can reliably trigger Revolts, which our deck definitely can. Plague Crafter seems quite good as well, so I'm pretty into that. Have them sacrifice one of their big creatures. The 2 Knight of Autumns are mediocre. The 1 Assassin's Trophy seems pretty good to me as well. And I quite like the Thoughtseize in this matchup as well. I think that if Sam is uninterrupted and has a proactive and effective start like he did in that first game there, I think that he's going to be ahead most of the time. If he can prevent himself from getting his hand stripped and interacted with, I think that the Thoughtseizes are going to be pretty good in kind of enabling that sort of plan. They're sort of like defensive Thoughtseizes. They're in that they're protecting your hand by disenabling James from interacting with you in that fashion. So I think I like those as well. Let's take a look at James's board. He's got 3 Reclamation Sage, 2 to Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Mystical Dispute, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Negate, 1 Scavenging Ooze, and 2 Feed the Clan. So off the top of my head, 2 Grafdigger's Cage are slam dunks. The 2 Negates, the 2 Disdainful Stroke, and the Scavenging Ooze also seem pretty appealing to me. We're really just trying to prevent Rally the Ancestors from resolving. That's kind of the whole idea here. So we probably want all of the interaction that we have in order to deal with that. So, and also now notably seeing the Grafdigger's Cage in James's sideboard, that definitely brings to my head that Sam should be bringing in some way of dealing with that, be it, I guess the Knight of Autumn standout to me is probably the best plan for that. So Sam should probably also be bringing in Knight of Autumns, assuming he's got Grafdigger's Cage on his mind, which admittedly I forgot about, but I would hope that Sam has on the front of his mind playing the deck. So that's what I do. More interaction from James, a little bit more interaction from Sam, the usual post-board stuff. So looks like we got both players shuffling it up here for the second game. Like I said, I feel like if the game goes on in a way where neither player really interacts with each other, I feel like Sam should be able to find a combo kill before James is able to, find the last point of damage. But I could also actually see, you know, a game progressing in such a way where Sam ends up with just a better board state than James between, you know, Cartel Aristocrat and Nantuko Husk and like a Zulaport Cutthroat or something like that. Just being able to sacrifice multiple dumb dudes, block sack, you know, make profitable exchanges with cards like Elvish Visionary, Stitcher Supplier, the likes, where you don't mind sacrificing them to a Nantuko Husk. You get to eat a larger creature like a Thought-Knot Seer, Reality Smasher and whatnot, so... Let's see how the game plays out. Oko is relatively good in this matchup, though I will admit I don't think it's at its best, so we'll see if James decided to trim any number of that. Of course, Oko is just so inherently powerful that I can't say I would be particularly surprised if they're just still all in the deck. That might just be a card you just never touch while sideboarding, and I wouldn't be shocked, but it looks like both players down to 6 here, so... We'll have to see if hopefully these players can find a better 6. Mulligans are obviously no fun. Looks like just a little land light on James's side. I didn't get a great look at Sam's hand before he shipped it back, but from a glance, I think it was a little land heavy, so obviously not the hands these players are looking for. Sam definitely wants and needs to hit his 4th land at some point, but he's certainly looking for more hands like the 2 lands, you know, Elvish Visionary, Double Stitcher Supplier, like the last hand. Like, those are the hands you're really trying to find, and, you know, it'd be nice if we can slap a Thoughtseize or something along in there as well, so. Ooh. Alright, let's see if Sam can piece James's deck back together. Alright. Take a look here. Sam draws 7 cards here. I see Elvish Visionary, Rally the Ancestors, a few lands, Cruel Celebrant. That looks like a keep to me if I'm Sam. Interesting choice on what's going on the bottom here. It could be the 3rd land, but it's more likely just one of the creatures. It is. I think that might have been a Tassiger that went back. I'm not certain if I saw that right. That would be a kind of odd inclusion, but... Alright. Looks like James will keep his hand as well. Alright, we've got Taps Temple Garden Go from Sam. James will lead off with a untapped Breeding Pool and an Elvish Mystic. Alright, Stitcher's Supplier off the top. That's definitely the best enabler that the Pioneer Rally decks really have to offer. So I think Sam's probably pretty happy to see that one. It's a turn late, but I'm sure he'll be able to find a point on his curve where he's able to weave that one in. He drew another Rally the Ancestors here, and oh boy, here's another turn 2 Oko, so... Turn 2 Oko is, like, very, very good in pretty much every matchup. I can't imagine that Sam's going to be happy to see this. And I mentioned potentially trimming a couple, but obviously when you're able to do this consistently, it's just absurd. So here is Satyr Wayfinder into Stitcher Supplier. Sam working on filling up his graveyard, though I think that was largely a bunch of misses. No real relevant creatures, just a bunch of lands and a rally. He might have hit something, but overall not the mills he's looking for, so we'll see if James is able to capitalize. So Oko to 7, he'll go ahead and attack for 3 with the Elk. Sam makes the easy block. He's going to slap that Stitcher Supplier in front of it. There's some more action that we're looking for. Plague Crafter, Mogus's Marauder, and I believe that is... I'm not certain what the last one is, but oh, Nantuko Husk, I think. So some 3 CMC spells got milled. Here's another Elvish Visionary. He'll go ahead and draw another card. He's looking to hit his land drops. He's still got the Cruel Celebrant in his hand. Okay, Thought-Knot Seer the draw from James. James has got to be pretty happy to see that one. Here comes a food token. If he has another land here, I expect that we're going to see this Thought-Knot Seer come down. James has got to be worried about the Rally the Ancestors coming, and these are autopilot blocks for Sam here. He's more than happy to just put his creatures into the graveyard to be able to get them back with Rally, and ooh, there's another good one off the top. Sam's missing the land to be able to rally for 3, though, so it looks like he's just going to go ahead and cast Vraska Golgari Queen. That gets Stubborn Denial, just the Force Spike mode on that, but it's plenty good. And, you know, Sam's probably fine with this. You know, he's got the 2 rallies in his hand. He's going to want to be able to make sure that those get through on the next couple turns, so I expect that as soon as Sam draws a land, we're going to see Rally the Ancestors for 3, And even if he misses on a land, I would kind of be surprised if we don't see Rally the Ancestors for 2 next turn. I'm a little surprised at the no double block here from Sam. He elects to keep an Elvish Visionary around. That makes sense. He does have Aristocrats in his hand, so I buy that. Here is Nantuko Husk off the top, and now Sam's just got to be thinking about whether or not he wants to rally for 2. Looks like no is the answer, just missing his land drops. He's got to be feeling pretty bad about this now. I mean, if James has any form of interaction again, he's just going to wait for a land and then jam a 5 CMC spell into what could be a negate or something. So here's a land. Here comes Thought-Knot Seer. James leaving up blue mana, very notably. Matters quite a bit. Alrighty, welcome back here for round number 2. We got Dylan trying his hand here against Jesse's Niv Delight deck. We watched him dismantle Pete in the last round, but you know, I actually think this matchup's going to be a little bit worse for Jesse here. It's going to be a very, very fast and aggressive deck here, trying to take down Jesse Chasson. The chonky red decks have been much more popular red-based, still aggressive decks, certainly, as of late, but this one is much lower to the ground, full of 1 and 2 mana threats and a lot of burn spells. So we'll see if Jesse's able to stabilize and overcome this plan. Here comes Bomat Courier, followed up by Eidolon of the Great Revel, and this is exactly the type of stuff I'm talking about. These is a very, very aggressive start here from Dylan, and he's probably got quite a few burn spells to back this one up. So we'll see if Jesse can manage to find his footing against this aggressive start, and if he can, you know, stabilize and then take over the game with his very large beaters that draw a bunch of cards. Siege Rhino kind of stands out as certainly one of the best cards in this matchup for Jesse. He's got potentially, excuse me, Abrupt Decay here, but it is just Sylvan Caryatid. He will take 2 from the Eidolon of the Great Revel, of course. Here comes Monastery Swiftspear. That'll ping Dylan for 2 points of damage, down to 18, and then he'll just go ahead and get in with the team. Looks like we might have missed our Bomat Courier trigger here on the attack. I'd be surprised. Oh, looks like, there we go, remembered it. Just in time. Jesse gonna make the obvious block here. He'll go ahead and toss the Sylvan Caryatid in front of the Monastery Swiftspear. Post combat, Dylan's gonna go ahead and light up the stage. He'll take another 2 damage from Eidolon of the Great Revel. That's Bone Crusher Giant and 1 card that I can't quite see because of the glare, unfortunately. And then Dylan's going to take another point of damage and skewer the critics Jesse's face. So Dylan's really just making both players' life totals just get drained here. As Dylan took 6 points of damage from his own Eidolon of the Great Revel here, and also an additional point from his Ramunap Ruin. So he put himself down to 13 this turn. And it's not like his life total is entirely irrelevant. Jesse is going to be attacking it at some point. His life total represents the amount of turns he has to try and draw a lethal threat. Potentially, if Jesse manages to stabilize. So his life total, you know, while he's getting attacked by potentially like a Niv Mizzet or whatnot, you know, it being above 12 really is probably the key number here, so that he gets more than 2 attacks through to try and draw like Lightning Strike or whatever to win the game, which I think could easily be how this game plays out. But we're going to need some action here from Jesse, most likely. And yes, certainly Oath of Kaya is that, so he'll gain effectively 1 life after taking into account that Eidolon of Great Revel, and Bomat Courier will hit the bin. I think Jesse correctly analyzes that Bomat Courier is the card he has to go after here. I certainly agree with that choice. Here comes a Soulscar Mage from Dylan. He's going to go ahead and take another 2 points of damage, down to 11 already. And then Stomp You. He'll take another 2 points of damage. And he'll get a nice prowess trigger out of the deal. A couple of them, as a matter of fact. See what his last card in hand is. Dylan's getting pretty close to running out of being able to realistically cast spells, but he's still fearlessly jamming them, as this one's going to cost him 3 life because of Ramunap Ruins, plus the Eidolon. He's at 6, means that he can only cast 2 more spells this game, assuming that Jesse does no more damage to him. But Jesse, all the way down to 3, means that Jesse's going to need some action here pretty bad. And Siege Rhino is certainly very bad, as we'll see life totals straight up swap now. Jesse at 6, Dylan down to 3, and Dylan Still has this Eidolon in play. Looks like he's just going to go ahead and attack. I'd be surprised if Jesse blocked the Eidolon. He doesn't. He'll go ahead, block the Soulscar Mage, Wild Slash Jesse for exactly lethal after the Prowess trigger. And yeah, that will do it. So Dylan's going to win the game at 1 life for exactly lethal while dead on the crackback. Pretty... Whew, that was a crazy game. Dylan nearly killed himself with that Eidolon of the Great Rebel there, but he did manage to get it through there, so... Alright, it's that time again. Let's see. Take a look at Jesse's sideboard. We got 1 Counterflux, 1 Rakdos' Return, 1 The Scarab God, 1 Solar Blaze, 1 Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, 1 Assassin's Trophy, 1 Dragon Lord Dromoka, 1 Vraska Golgari Queen, 1 Knight of Autumn, 1 Kaya Orzhov Usurper, 1 Unmoored Ego, 2 Mystical Dispute, and 2 Rest in Peace. So, obviously, we're just going to want all of our things that are good against aggressive cards. So, cards that look good against aggressive cards to me looks like I'm all about Assassin's Trophy. That's just a removal spell. Dragon Lord Dromoka is an interesting one. It costs a lot of mana, but it's very, very good if you put it into play. So I could see that one coming in or staying out. I don't mind either. Vraska Golgari Queen looks pretty appealing to me. I definitely like the Knight of Autumn and the Kaya Orzhov Usurper as well, as those are pretty much the only 2 slam dunks, I think, here. So a couple good ones, some marginal stuff as well there from Jesse. Solar Blaze is in the marginal category for me as well. Let's take a look at Dylan's sideboard. This one much more friendly to me for sure, as he's got 4 Searing Blood, 2 Abrade, 2 Fry, 2 Skullcrack, 2 Chandra, Torch of Defiance, and 2 Glorybringer. And we did see Jesse, you know, holding up that copy of Knight of Autumn there, if you guys were paying attention. That one's certainly coming in. Let's think about Dylan's sideboard. We, I think, are mostly just planning on going way over the top. Oh, thank you, Dylan, for showing the camera what's coming in, although I must confess I didn't exactly see it. So I think the Skullcracks are certainly going to be coming in from Dylan. And everything else, kind of meh on everything else. The card Glorybringer is traditionally pretty good against this Niv to Light deck. It's pretty good against some of their draws. It beats cards like Questing Beast pretty handily, and Tollsmear has a way of dealing with, and you can usually expect to be playing against a Tollsmear in a game against this deck, especially when they're on the play if they're keeping a functional hand. So I don't hate the Glorybringers. I think the Skullcracks are the only must, so we'll see how Dylan ended up sideboarding. It is a little awkward because if you're Dylan and your deck is set up the way it is, it feels like if you have 5 lands in play, you might have just already lost, despite potentially having a Glorybringer to try and carry the game. But I do think that you could make a good case for having it in your deck. And, well, the case I just made is a very reasonable one for leaving it in the sideboard. We'll see what he elects to do. All right, looks like Jesse will keep his 6-card hand. Dylan happy with his 7. Here's a tapped Stomping Ground on the first turn of the game, and this one must be quite land light here from Dylan, as he'll start with just a Ramunap Ruins and a Monastery Swiftspear. So probably another copy of Ramunap Ruins there, hanging out in that hand. Potentially a Castle Embereth as well, or his lands, but certainly no Mountain. We would have seen that for sure. All right. Here's a tapped Breeding Pool from Jesse, keeping his life total relatively high while he bides his time in the early turns here. We'll see what Dylan's follow-up is there is that Ramunap Ruins that I speculated to earlier. Ooh, looks like double 1-drop, potentially haste creatures. Oh no, looks like 2 1-drops without haste going to be the play here from Dylan. He's just going to get in and attack for 1. He's setting up for a pretty potent next turn, however, and getting it in before the Supreme Verdict seems very powerful, especially with these particular lands in play, means that no Oath of Kaya going to be able to really ruin your day. Teferi Time Raveler, really a card you have to worry about. And yeah, here's just a Sylvan Caryatid, as Jesse's got a pretty clean block lined up on a Gitu Lava Runner here with the Sylvan Caryatid, but he's probably still going to take a pretty big hit this turn, I would have to imagine. We'll see what Dylan elects to do. Looks like he is going to just go ahead and start things off by Wild Slashing Jesse. He's taking a point of damage for all of these spells once again. Looks like it's just going to be double Wild Slash at Jesse, and then combat, he'll just go ahead and attack with everything. I expect Jesse will just go ahead and block the Gitu Lava Runner. He'll take 6 points of damage, down to 8 now. But he will have the Fabled 5 mana on this turn, assuming he has the land. Which he actually, I don't think he does. I think he might be missing the land here. He does have 2 copies of Cut to Ribbons, however, so casting both of those seems quite effective on this board. Knight of Autumn, another good one here. He's going to have to give it some more thought. Looks like he's going for 4 mana. He's going to double Cut to Ribbons. I agree with this play. I think this is better than Knight of Autumn. Take out both those prowess threats. Make it so that your opponent's hand is much more neutralized here. Although, we do know that our opponent's hand is basically all spells, given that he's still not playing lands. Here comes the Eidolon of the Great Revel. Now, it's putting Dylan down to 13, Jesse down to 6, so he's still pinched on spells that he can really cast. And he's still not hitting land drops. Definitely a pretty big problem for him. He could go ahead and cast a Knight of Autumn here in order to gain 4 life. It'll only actually gain him 2, but he will be able to block and trade with a creature, so pretty good regardless. There is a mountain off the top now for Dylan. I'm sure he's happy to see that. He's got a Bone Crusher Giant in hand. He could stomp this Knight of Autumn. I quite enjoy that play from him. Can't quite see what else is going on. Oh, he's got a Wizard's Lightning in his hand as well. This could be lethal. It's very, very close to lethal. He has the ability to put Jesse all the way down to 1 life here. Oh, that's... Oh, man. Rampaging Ferocidon? Holy crap. I believe I may have misseen the Wizard's Lightning, and that's probably the card that I thought it was. So here comes Rampaging Ferocidon. Players can no longer gain life. Means that Jesse's really between a rock and a hard place now, and this is kind of what I talked about thinking might happen in this matchup is, yeah, Jesse makes the only block that he can make, and then he's going to go ahead and Abrupt Decay the Rampaging Ferocidon now. Some good sequencing here from Jesse as he'll end up taking 0 damage from creatures on this turn. Means that Dylan's kind of forced himself into going the rest of the distance with just burn spells, although I do believe he has he still has, excuse me, that Stomp and Bone Crusher Giant in his hand, and it looks like just gonna go ahead and ship the turn back over to Jesse now, holding up exactly that, potentially another spell. We'll see what he wants to do on end step. Here is Stomp You. That'll put Jesse down to 4. No other spells though from Dylan. Can't get a great look at what's in his hand. The stack doesn't seem particularly relevant, but you know, keep you know, trigger checking Jesse for if you ever draw like a Goblin Chain Whirler or something along those lines. Not that I think Goblin Chain Whirler's in the deck, but you know, still just make your opponent block every turn, make him keep up the mana every turn. So yeah, and at this point we have arrived where Ramunap Ruins is currently lethal over the course of 2 turns if he finds another mountain. So the first one can get cracked currently, and the second one will be lethal, but no longer, as we see Oath of Kaya take down the Bone Crusher Giant. End of turn, we'll see a Wizard's Lightning go after Jesse's face. That'll put him to 4, down to 2, and then Ramunap Ruins is lethal, and that will do it here from Dylan. Means that, yeah, kind of like I thought, this red deck just a little bit too fast for the 5-color Niv Mizzet deck, and a couple quick on-camera matches here so far today, with a very speedy win from Jesse in the mid-range mirror, and then a rather quick loss here at the hands of Mono-Red, Burn, Bomat, Courier, and whatnot. So, well played there, Dylan. Well done. And let's go ahead and thank our sponsor for tonight, Die Hard Dice. Die Hard is the absolute best dice in the business. If you're into tabletop RPGs, tabletop war games, anything like that, and you're looking to upgrade your set of dice, you absolutely need to check out Die Hard Dice. They have phenomenal metal dice. They roll exceptionally well. They're nice and heavy. They look super cool. And, you know, they're just a great way to, you know, show off that you're enjoying your character, show that you care and whatnot. So thank you to Die Hard Dice for supporting the stream. Without your guys' help, wouldn't be able to be here doing what we do. So with that, we're going to leave you guys with the time machine. We'll be back for round number 3. Make sure you guys don't go anywhere. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Hello, welcome back to round number 2 here for Thursday night Paradise Games Pioneer. We have Brad versus John, so gonna be a nice fun match. Brad's playing a little bit of red-green blitz. It's playing hexproof creatures. Quite notably, that's their adaptation, or that's Brad's adaptation on the archetype. He's trying to make his creatures difficult to interact with and trying to just cast a load of pump spells on them oh boy, my words really got away from me, in an effort to get his opponent dead quickly. So meanwhile, John, on the other hand, he's playing blue-black artifacts. I'm not certain why he's titled it Demir Whales, but John's got some nice ones in his deck. I'll leave a lot of the surprises to be encountered as we get there, but I'm pretty certain that I'm gonna need production to let me know what a good few of these cards are, because John did some digging through the depths to find some good ones for this deck. So looking forward to it. Looks like John's on a mulligan to 6 here. Oh, looks like maybe another mulligan here. Looks like Brad's got a nice 7. I see Goreclan Rampager, Season of Growth, some lands. Looks pretty good to me. Can't really be too ashamed with any of that. I also think I see a Paradise Druid there in Brad's hand, so definitely starting with the Boggle theme. Got his hexproof creatures and all that, so all right. Brad's giving us a nice look here at the hand. I saw it was a little fast. I saw Goreclan Rampager, Stomping Ground. There's definitely a couple hexproof creatures in there. Bazaar Tower Archer, that's the one. So, oh, it is not a Paradise Druid. My bad. For some reason I thought I saw a Paradise Druid, but I'm clearly mistaken. Looks like Stomping Ground tapped is going to be how we start this game off. John, after his mulligan to 5 here, his hand's looking admittedly subpar, as the usual. So John will lead us off with the tap land as well. There's Gladecover Scout off the top for Brad. And here comes Season of Growth from Brad. So this is definitely one of the engines the deck is built on, and for those of you who need to read it, I'm sure we're going to have that one up on the screen here very shortly. Essentially, it just rewards you for casting pump spells at your creatures. You're going to draw some extra cards. The creatures scry you towards your pump spells you're looking for. It's very similar to like a Reverse Shaper's Sanctuary, so it looks like John's going to play an island, send it back over to Brad. We'll see what Brad manages to do now. Temur Battle Rage off the top, and here's Bazaar Tower Archers. When it enters the battlefield, Brad will scry 1 off the Season of Growth. Looks like that one's going to stay there, though I didn't get a good look at it. I saw it was red. I assume it's a pump spell of some kind, so here's a card off the top for John. I can't see what that one is. I think the glare's a little bad on that one. I think it might be the black puzzle box from Kaladesh, but I'm not entirely certain. Oh, it is. It's Metal Spinner's Puzzle Knot. Hey! I was right. Let's go, me. Alright, so when Metal Spinner's Puzzle Knot enters the battlefield, you draw a card and lose a life. 3 mana, sack it, you draw a card and lose a life. So, the traditional Puzzle Knot text, so looks like here's going to be Gladecover Scout. Brad will go ahead and scry 1 off the Season of Growth. Looks like he's giving this one a think. His hand looks pretty powerful, and he's got a Temur Battle Rage, so anytime he manages to find any real relevant interact, or anytime he manages to find relevant threats in the form of pump spells, he's going to be able to double it. So here comes Titan Strength. He's going to draw the card he scryed to the top, then he'll scry off the Titan Strength and put that one on the bottom, Forest for turn. Presumably he scryed that one to the top, and then he's going to go ahead and bash John down to 15. So pretty effective there. That Titan Strength replaced itself, dealt 3 points of damage, and scryed a card to the bottom. Gotta be feeling good about that if you're Brad. Although he does look a little bit Temur Battle Rage flooded. He does need to find another land to be able to Gore Clan Rampager plus Temur Battle Rage, which I believe he has like two of those, I think, from a quick flip through here. So all right, looks like we're back over to John's side now. Looks like he's hitting us with a Servo Schematic. Boy, John's really got these Kaladesh uncommons on lock here. So when Servo Schematic enters the battlefield or is put into a graveyard from play, you make a 1/1 colorless Servo. So John's got his 1/1 colorless Servo game on lock. He's trying to look to block, but this does not seem like it's going to be a particularly effective plan here against Brad. Here's another Basara Tower Archers. He's going to go ahead and scry 1 Forest on top. He's going to send that to the bottom. That leads me to believe he's probably found another land already, because if he didn't have his 4th one, I'd be inclined to draw it. All right, so here is attack with Glade Cover Scout and the Basara Tower Archers. John's going to go ahead and make the tempting block. Brad's going to give him the bad news with the Titan Strength, so Brad will draw a card. It's Bone Crusher Giant. Then he'll scry 1 Season of Growth to the bottom. John's going to take some more damage, but he is looking real rough on this mulligan to 5 here. It's going to be really hard for me to imagine a real world where John's going to be able to come back from this one knowing the contents of Brad's hand. And it is possible, but this next turn needs to be very large. I mean, we're thinking, I want to see like a Bantu's Last Reckoning or something similar in order to see John get back in this game, but I don't think that he has anything like that. So here's Scrabbling Claws, or Scrabbler's Claws, if you'll excuse me. It's essentially a discount relic of Progenitus. It only scries, and but other than that, it essentially does the same thing, although it does exile itself, which is somewhat noticeable in Modern, where I've seen some people try and play it instead of Relic of Progenitus so that you can loop certain artifacts, or excuse me, instead of Tormod's Crypt. All right. So now we'll see what Brad wants to do. Looks like he's going to Temur Battle Rage his Basara Tower Archer. He's got a trigger here, so he's probably looking to draw something to be able to pump. Looks like it's Mountain. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to play the Mountain before the Temur Battle Rage resolves. So we might be missing out on the Ferocious here from the Temur Battle Rage, but that's probably not the end of the world. So the Temur Battle Rage will resolve. Brad's going to play a Mountain. Then he'll go ahead and attack. Then he's going to Blood Rush the one that got Battle Raged with the Gore Clan Rampager. So that's giving it +4/+4. It has Double Strike. That looks like lethal to me. Brad and John agree, and with that, we're going to go to the sideboard here. So let's check out what Brad's got in his sideboard. Looks like he has 4 Destructive Revelry, 3 Gruul Spellbreaker, 2 Feed the Clan, 2 Scavenging Ooze, 1 Gore Clan Rampager, 1 Collision Colossus, and 2 Lava Coil. So Brad saw some artifact shenanigans going on, so the 4 Destructive Revelries look all right to me, although admittedly, none of the artifacts looked particularly like I wanted to be Destructive Revelrying them. I mean, we saw like a Servo Schematic, that's obviously not hitting that. Metalworker's Puzzle Knot, that doesn't even feel very great either. So looks like Brad's probably going to bring in some number of that, but I think 4 is almost certainly too many, which is somewhat strange against the artifact deck, but that's just given what me and Brad saw that game. I could easily see going up to more if we see some extra stuff that we really need to deal with in the post board, so I think I like that. The extra Gore Clan Rampager seems okay. Looks like our opponent's lacking a little bit on removal, but they are playing blue-black, so we might not want to go too crazy here, so The Feed the Clans, no thanks. Scavenging Ooze, didn't see any real reason. Lava Coil doesn't seem excellent. I mean, we didn't see any real reason to need Lava Coil here either, so I expect a little bit of light sideboarding from Brad after that game. Whereas John, let's take a look what he's got. He's got 3 Yahenni's Expertise, 2 Never to Return, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Drown in the Loch, 3 Negate, and 2 Disdainful Stroke. From John, I'm a big fan of the 3 Yahenni's Expertise. The Wrath effect seems very important in this matchup, even if on most board states Brad's planning on just having 1 or 2 creatures. You're really looking to be able to, sweep those away and give yourself a reprieve, and being able to develop on the turn that you're also playing the Wrath seems exceptional to me. The 2 Never to Returns are another one that stand out to me. Once again, we do need ways to deal with all of the creatures. Negate is an interesting one. It definitely has targets that are relevant, but I'm not certain that that's the battle you want to be fighting. I think against these heavy pump spell decks, you want to be fighting against the creatures and less so against the pump spells. And, Never Return's a little awkward because a lot of those creatures have hexproof. In fact, all of the ones Brad played did. So you're not certain if you can really find the targets for it. So you might just have to rely on the Yahenni's Expertises to get you through. But hopefully, from John's side, 1 well-placed Yahenni's Expertise is going to be enough to, kind of stabilize the board and let him take over with a more powerful late game than Brad has. And, Brad does have some very explosive turns in him if he has a lot of mana, but I believe that John should be at an advantage if he gets to just play the game out and, make 6 or 7 land drops without his life total being under too much duress. So we'll have to see how it plays out, though. Of course, this is why we play the games. Hopefully, John manages to avoid any further mulligans. That's obviously no good every time that happens, so we'll see how that goes. Looks like Brad's decided his plan already. We'll see what John's up to as well. Looks like he could be giving it a little more of a think. I think he's got a pen and paper out now. Not certain what he's thinking about or what he's writing down. Maybe he's taking notes. We'll see. Okay, so Brad, all right, so we got an update here. Brad is giving John notes during the match. So good guy Brad's helping him out in the middle of the match so that he can improve. So that's awesome to see. Glad Brad's helping him out. Looks like Brad's just giving him, various cards that he should look to add to his deck. So makes sense when we're seeing, Metalworkers not and, servo schematic. Brad's certainly the person that I know who would just snap off weird Kaladesh artifact that looks good in this deck. He's absolutely the best person I know at that. So it makes a lot of sense that he's probably got, random Cons of Tarkir common that would look good in John's deck or whatever. So let's see what we got going on. Looks like Brad's got a pretty reasonable hand. Some lands, Basara Tower Archer, a couple Collision Colossus, or a couple Seasons of Growth, and a Bone Crusher Giant, Collision Colossus as well. So seems all right. Oh yeah, we've got, here's the production letting us know. Looks like Brad recommended Warped Physique to John, and this is what I'm talking about. I don't know what Warped Physique does. Like, what the heck does this card do? Target creature gets +X -X until end of turn, or X's number of cards. Sure. Yeah, whatever. Looks like a weird removal spell. Looks like John's going to start us off with an island and a blast zone, and he's going to have a Metalworker's Puzzle Knot hit the field. There's Gladecover Scout off the top for Brad. Forest will be the land for turn, and here's Season of Growth. He'll send the turn back over to John. See what John's up to now. Looks like both players managed to keep 7-card hands this time, so hopefully we'll see John make a 3rd land this game, which he unfortunately never got to do in the last one. All right, what do we got? Looks like here's a servo schematic from John. He'll go ahead and put a 1/1 into play. He's still missing any way to sacrifice that artifact. I'm curious what ways he has in his deck to enable the second servo to come out of the servo schematic, and whether or not it's really worth it, because at face value, servo schematic, even if you can consistently play it and get it off the battlefield to make the 2/1/1 servos, you're not super thrilled about. You have to be doing something good with the sacrifice ability, so I'm definitely interested to see what he is up to in order to see if I'm really about this servo schematic. So here's Glade Cover Scout. It's going to scribe bottom. That's all for Brad. He'll ship it back over to John now, who takes a draw step. Looks like a blue-black tap land here. Dimir, Fetid Pools, Dimir something. I'm not certain exactly which tap land that is, but we'll see if he has anything else he needs to do. John considering an attack. It is Choked Estuary. Thank you, production. Looks like he's not going to attack. On the end step, Brad's going to go ahead and stomp down the servo. John, take a think about that one. Looks like it's just going to resolve, so Brad definitely getting use out of his mana here. Feeling pretty good about that. There's Titan Strength off the top, I believe. He'll take 2 off a Stomping Ground, so John's got to be expecting some action. Here's Season of Growth. Oh boy, now Brad's really in danger of going off hard here. With double Season of Growth, he's got to be feeling pretty threatened about Brad's ability to cast like 1 pump spell this turn and then untap and kill him. Seems pretty likely. So here's Colossus. It'll give +4/+2. Brad's going to draw 2 cards off the Seasons of Growth, regardless of whether or not the Colossus resolves. So he'll draw 2. They are Forest and another copy of Collision Colossus, and then presumably John will be taking 5 here if he has nothing to say about it. Of course, 5 not the biggest of hits, but it is solidly in threat range for next turn. So here's Metallic Rebuke. He'll counter that, just take the 1. He still drew the 2 cards, however, so Brad's got to still be feeling pretty good about this. Top card for John looks like another copy of Choked Estuary. So more tap lands from John. Looks like he's prioritizing making his mana functional over, you know, just a bunch of basics and Watery Grave or whatnot. I'm sure he's got the Watery Graves and whatnot in the deck or whatever, but he's really just making sure he has access to all of his colors with these tap lands, and that is definitely some of the price you pay for playing cards like Blast Zone. So we'll see if it really comes back to bite him. Here we've got Reverse Engineering. It's going to draw him 3 cards. Reverse Engineering, another Kaladesh All-Star here. John's whipping out the Kaladesh block constructed here. All right, Titan Strength's going to power up the Glade Cover Scout. Here comes Colossus. That'll give another +4/+2. Oh boy, Brad's really going off now. So we've given our Glade Cover Scout 7 power already this turn between Titan Strength and a Colossus. Here's a land. Temur Battle Rage would be very close to lethal. Not quite, unfortunately, for Brad, but we'll see if he's got anything else. Looks like it's just going to be the attack for 7 and a Basara Tower Archer to follow things up. So, or excuse me, that's an attack for 8. So John will go down to 10 when the Basara Tower Archer enters the battlefield. Brad will scry 1 twice, so it's going to be bottom for him. And then he'll ship the turn back on over to John. All right, John drew 3 cards last turn, so hopefully he manages to find something to deal with these threats. Yahini's Expertise on this turn looks really good. Oh, and I think he might have drawn it off the top there. Yahini's Expertise would be phenomenal right now from John. It would leave Brad with no threats on board, and of course, Brad's still got that Bone Crusher Giant hanging out in the Adventure Zone. He's got a couple Gore Clan Rampagers in his hand. He's drawn a bunch of cards off the Seasons of Growth, but still, that's definitely a step towards clawing back into this game. He's got a Saheeli in his hand as well. So we'll see what he wants to do. Looks like this might be that Yahini's Expertise. It is. So here comes Yahini's Expertise. Brad's creatures will go away, and I expect John to put a Saheeli into play off this. This is very good, admittedly. Like, I think if he has a follow-up, like any 1-mana artifact here, he's going to be in really good shape. And even if he just ships the turn back over to Brad, which it looks like he will be doing, I don't hate his position from this point. So We'll see what creatures Brad wants to deploy onto the battlefield to begin re-threatening, but if John has a really good turn next turn, he could easily run away with the board state, and even the amount of pump spells in Brad's deck, if he doesn't find ways to give trample, like Tamer Battle Rage, he's going to be out of luck. So here comes the Bone Crusher Giant. He'll scry a couple times, send some lands to the bottom. I expect we'll see a Basara Tower Archer and a Glade Cover Scout as well from Brad. I believe he has both of those cards. Looks like he taps... he has to tap the double green, but only has the mountain to be able to... so he's unable, to cast the Basara, or to cast the Glade Cover Scout in his hand. So I do think he has a Stomping Ground, though. I think Brad probably should have shocked in the Stomping Ground instead of play the mountain there and cast the Glade Cover Scout. It's worth noting that potentially he's playing around the second copy of Yahenni's Expertise with this play, but I think with double Gore-Clan Rampager in your hand as well, I think we have a reasonable enough backup plan of just start casting my Gore-Clan Rampagers next turn, that I think I like casting the Glade Cover Scout, especially because we get the Scry 2 out of it, so doesn't seem too bad. Oh, this is a Barkhide Troll, excuse me, not a Basara Tower Archer, so Barkhide Troll, certainly an all-star. He's leaving up the 1 mana to be able to remove a counter from it to protect it. Even still, I think I would have preferred to see the Glade Cover Scout here, because we're presenting enough threats that we're not too worried about any one of them getting taken down. But regardless, if John doesn't have another copy of Yahenni's Expertise, he's going to be really hurting right now. And 2 Gore-Clan Rampagers is admittedly not the worst thing Brad could have in his hand for John. They don't draw more cards off of the Season of Growth because they don't cast themselves. So Blood Rush is not a cast. Ooh, is this Demon of Herald of Anguish? Something like that? I'm not certain which demon this is. I definitely recognize the artist, the Kaladesh Demon for sure. I'm just not entirely certain what it is. Oh, it is Herald of Anguish. Let's go. All right. So 7 mana, 5/5 with Improvise and Flying. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent discards a card. 2 mana, sack an artifact. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. So the Saheeli looks like John wants to use the Saheeli to downtick on the Herald of Anguish in order to make Brad discard an extra card on end step, and that seems pretty good to me. I mean, having Brad discard 2 cards as opposed to just the 1, not bad at all. Definitely a worthwhile use of our Saheeli's loyalty. We'll see if he ends up doing just that. Of course, looks like he doesn't really have anything going on. Looks like at the end of his turn, Brad's going to go ahead and discard Stomping Ground. Looks like John decided against making a copy of Herald of Anguish, so just going to leave the Saheeli at 5. All right, here are the attacks. I assume that these are both at John, as he does have lethal here. Depending, whichever creature does not get blocked, Brad can just go ahead and double Gore-Clan Rampager for lethal here, and I don't think that John's going to have an answer to that, so I think we're going to see Brad take the match in 2 here, assuming I'm not missing something. So Gore-Clan Rampager and Become Immense on the Barkhide Troll means that we're just going to see lethal. There's the handshake. Brad takes it down with the good old green-red Blitz deck, and this deck looks pretty sweet. I'm pretty in, I think. And granted, I don't think that this is probably the absolute best thing that you could be doing in this format. I think there's a little bit too much interaction floating around still, even if we're trying to do the hexproof thing in the form of there's a lot of Settle the Wreckage and Supreme Verdict flying around, and I'm not certain we line up super well against that. And also, it looks like the deck probably just isn't quite fast enough to really compete with the likes of Nexus or whatnot, though I'm sure it has draws that can, and you probably get blown out pretty hard by Fog. But maybe if we see the Nexus of Fate's decks leave the format, we could end up in a place where this green-red Blitz deck looks pretty all right. So let's go ahead and thank our second sponsor for the evening, Die Hard Dice. Die Hard Dice is the absolute best in metal dice. If you like D&D tabletop games, anything like that, you absolutely have to get a set of Die Hard Dice. They are perfect for all of your role-playing game needs. I thoroughly enjoy them at D&D sessions. They're awesome, and they just look really cool. They feel great to roll. they're just pretty much great. I just don't have anything else to say other than that. They're awesome. So thank you so much to Die Hard Dice for supporting the stream. And if you are looking to get your hands on some Die Hard Dice, make sure you keep tuning into the stream as we will be giving away multiple sets tomorrow and Saturday. Hey everyone, welcome back to the third and final round of Pioneer here at Paradise Games. We got Brad and James, both of the winners of the last two matches, facing off now in the feature match for the third and final round for the undefeated trophy. Let's see how this plays out. We got Blue-Green Eldrazi versus Green-Red Blitz. This one in theory is definitely a little puzzling to me. So I can easily see James kind of just taking over the board state with too many large creatures for Brad to be able to effectively punch through, but I could also easily see Brad just having pump spell after pump spell after pump spell after pump spell in order to just keep getting over these creatures, and James eventually running out of relevant threats. So we'll see how this goes. I think that the Stubborn Denials seem pretty good in this matchup for James, as Brad's probably going to be forced into trying to get his creatures through in combat, so we'll see how it goes. I also think that potentially Brad could just not have enough pump spells that pump toughness. He's got a lot of +3, +1, +4, +2-esque effects, but without First Strike or like Teamer Battle Rage gives Double Strike, for example. His creatures are probably just going to be trading with the large Eldrazi, and that's usually not as good. You know, you're essentially 2-for-1ing yourself if you don't have a Season of Growth or something. So here is a Troll. Of course, it's going to be a 2-mana 3/3, so bigger than what James is up to currently, although I expect that to change going into James's next turn. He's got that Lovestruck Beast hanging out. James does have the ability to turn it into an Elk. He would turn it into a 4/4 Elk, of course, but it would remove the ability for it to gain hexproof, but I doubt James really cares about the hexproof of Brad's creatures so much in this matchup. He really doesn't have that much interaction for creatures in his deck. It's mostly Stubborn Denial and, you know, creatures from James. So here is Thought-Knot Seer. Here goes Brad's hand. It's got a couple of mountains to start. I see a Teamer Battle Rage under those mountains as James makes us work through it slowly. Here's a Season of Growth. Interesting that we saw Brad to play the creature first. Gore Clan Rampager, and then a second Teamer Battle Rage are the other two cards in hand. So this is an interesting choice. If I were James, I'd probably lean towards taking either the Season of Growth or the Gore Clan Rampager. Leaving him with double Teamer Battle Rage is pretty scary against our deck because we really want to be blocking with our larger creatures, but Gore Clan Rampager +4/+4 is definitely big enough to threaten your creatures, and also the double Teamer Battle Rage don't do anything on their own. So looks like James agrees Gore Clan Rampager is going to hit the bin, and ooh, there's Titan Strength, the draw from Brad. That's a pretty good one now, because I bet James is going to be pretty tempted to block, but looks like Brad's just going to go ahead, play the Season of Growth, ship the turn. He's not willing to trade the Troll plus a Titan Strength for the Thought-Knot Seer, interestingly enough. All right, let's see what James finds himself up to now. He could also theoretically try and tick this Blast Zone up to 2 at some point. That seems very effective against what Brad's got going on. CMC 2 tends to be the kind of the sweet spot for all of Brad's creatures. So here's an attack for 4. Brad's just, you know, didn't want to offer the trade then, not willing to offer the trade now. Gonna go ahead and take the 4 down to 15. James will ship it back. So we could see potential extra counter going on. James has a Reality Smasher in his hand. Wonder what else he's got. Alrighty, welcome back everybody here for round number 3. This is the third and final round here tonight for us here at Paradise Games. We got Dylan coming back here. We got a little bit of a, you know, winners feature match area going on tonight, playing against Cameron on Blue-White Heroic. So definitely a gonna be an interesting match. I'm excited to see how this Blue-White Heroic deck performs as we see Favored Hoplite enter the battlefield here on the first turn of the game. Normally these decks are red to facilitate cards like Feather the Redeemed, but the blue is an interesting take, and I'm curious to see how this blue is going to impact the deck. I'm expecting cards like Curious Obsession to be the main draw to be in blue, although I must admit I haven't seen the deck and I don't actually know, so we'll have to see how it goes. Alright, Eidolon of the Great Revel here on turn number 2 from Dylan, and we'll have to see what he decides to follow it up with. This is Hidden Strings, I believe, that's going to get ciphered onto Favored Hoplite. Hidden Strings, surprised I actually knew that card off the top of my head, but thankfully I was aware of it because of the combo deck, the Lotus Field combo deck that it resides in. And yeah, Dylan probably taking a read at Cipher again. Cipher, certainly one of the weirdest keywords in Magic. Essentially says whenever you hit a player, you get to cast the spell again. So here he's going to go ahead and attack after, of course, the God's Willing to give protection from red. He got a nice scry there. It looks like the scry is going to stay on top. Of course, Dylan is going to deal 4 points of damage to Cameron in this process while he is casting all of these spells because of the Eidolon of the Great Revel. So that'll put Cameron down to 13 now. 13? Not a particularly high life total, but looks like the Favored Hoplite is out of range of anything that Dylan's up to, and he's in fact going to just ship the turn back on over to Cameron. Now we'll see another Eidolon of the Great Revel here, pinging Cameron's life total down, as we'll see more and more get slapped onto our friend Favored Hoplite here. Now it's time to go ahead and get into the red zone. He's going to go ahead and remove the Ordeal of Heliod after it attacks. He's going to just sacrifice it and gain 10 life. That's pretty absurd in game 1 against Mono Red. Holy. So now we've got, I can't exactly see quite how large this Favored Hoplite is at this angle, but I think it's got 5 +1/+1 counters on it, potentially 4, so it's got 5 counters. 5 is correct. So this is a 6 power Favored Hoplite here that just, in the Ordeal of Heliod, just gained 10 life, and Dylan's going to try and take it out here with 2 Wild Slashes. Oh, never mind. This is just Dylan going straight upstairs. So 2 Wild Slashes going upstairs. Dylan, of course, does lose 4 life for this, and here's another 2 spells, as Dylan will lose 4 life for those as well. So Dylan just hit himself for 8 total. And Cameron's down to 17, of course, from the Wild Slashes, but this does not look like a race that Dylan is currently winning. But he is going to go ahead and slam in with the team, so he'll hit Cameron for 5 points of damage here on his turn. Cameron down to 12, and notably, if Cameron does cipher these Hidden Strings, he is going to take 2 points of damage from the Eidolon of the Great Revel there. And we've got production. Keep bringing up this Laguna Band Elder, and boy, for Dylan's sake, I hope his Laguna Band Elder nowhere near Cameron's deck, though I assume it is somewhere in there, and I don't know how Dylan's ever going to beat that, so this looks like kind of a nightmare matchup for Dylan, to be honest. And Laguna... Oh, it's Laguna Band Trailblazer, excuse me, not Favored Hoplite. Oh, it is much, much beefier. Though it does have the same text. Whenever it's targeted, it gets a +1/+1 counter. Alright, so now we'll see Cameron take another 2 points of damage as he continues to suit up the Trailblazer. He'll get an attack in. Of course, no blocks available. Cameron will sacrifice the Ordeal here. He'll draw 2 more cards. And then go ahead and untap 2 permanents, as he'll take another 2 points of damage from the Eidolon of the Great Revel. The Eidolon of the Great Revel really has become the story of the game, but he does essentially get to give his creature vigilance in the process here. Cameron's still at 7, and Dylan, with only 3 life, means that Dylan's going to need to find lethal here somewhere. Of course, I'd be a little surprised if Cameron elects to play any more spells on this turn. Dylan definitely has the ability to draw a lethal burn spell here, especially if he doesn't already have one in his hand. It looks like Cameron just going to follow it up with another blocker here, and he's going to take 2 points of damage to do that, and it's basically going to be life point neutral in the end here, as he's going to be able to get a block off with his Battle-Wise Hoplite, but he is also going to, you know, basically take the 2 points of damage he would have anyways, just for having cast it. So we'll see if Dylan happens to have a lethal burn spell. Would have to be 3 damage on the board, but he does not, so we'll have to pass the turn. Back over to Cameron, look to make some blocks here. I expect that this Eidolon of the Great Revel's probably going to be hitting the bin here, as Dylan's going to need to cast spells to be able to keep up with the action that Cameron's got going on. And it's going to be unfortunate for him, as he's going to have to try to... and, you know, fight this uphill battle against what is essentially the Abyss, and soon to be double the Abyss. As soon as anything targets this Battle-Wise Hoplite, it is lethal, so I'll be stunned if Dylan does not feel obligated to block it. Here we see Cameron will take 2 points of damage from the Eidolon of the Great Revel. He's going to try and get his... Oh, he is targeting the Laguna. But it looks like the protection from red will get it through, and that's going to be the end of this game. And yeah, no burn spells for Dylan. It means that Cameron's going to clean up the first game. This one looks like it's going to be pretty rough for Dylan. And let's take a look at the sideboard here for Cameron. Cameron has 1 Johnny's Present, 2 Dive Down, 2 Dovin's Veto, another Laguna Brand Trailblazer, 2 Leyline of Sanctity, 3 Spell Pierce, 3 Ordeal of Heliod, and 1 Chromat. Holy crap. Boy, Cameron does not want to lose to Mono Red, I tell you that much. This is just going to be absurd. Oh, Chromat not actually in the sideboard, just a joke. Instead, just a joke. So we've got a lot of bangers here to bring in from Cameron. The 3 Ordeals of Heliod are obviously pretty absurd if you ever gain the 10 life. I mean, the 10 life was the story of that last game. The Laguna Brand Trailblazer just being a 0/4 that also pumps seems excellent to me. The Leyline of Sanctities are obviously absurd, so I'm pretty happy to bring those in. The Dive Downs, pretty reasonable as well. Give yourself some extra protection against the deck that you're going to assume is going to be bringing in some potent removal spells for your dudes. Meanwhile, on Dylan's side, we've got 4 Searing Blood, 2 Braid, 2 Fry, 2 Skullcrack, 2 Chandra Torch of Defiance, and 2 Glorybringer. So the cards that stand out to me, the 2 Fry seem like slam dunks here from Dylan, as they're going to be able to probably deal with any threats that Dylan has. It looks like we get a preview here. He's boarding out 4 copies of Bomat Courier and 1 copy of Skullcrack, and he is boarding in 2 Glorybringers, a Rampaging Ferocidon, and the 2 copies of Fry. So this tracks, this seems very good to me. I believe I would board pretty much exactly that same way. The Searing Bloods do have targets if you hit them at the correct time, but all things considered, they're probably just going to be essentially lightning strikes, so not the best, unfortunately. So I think both players have some relatively easy sideboarding decisions. I like the Glorybringers. They go over the top, and Dylan's probably going to be forced to go over the top with his deck here, and especially if Cameron finds any copies of Leyline of Sanctity, I think Dylan's going to be really in a tough spot. So we'll see Dylan on the play here for game number 2 as both players draw their opening hands. Looks like Cameron's is no good, but Dylan happy to keep his 7. Cameron potentially fishing for some copies of those Leyline of Sanctities, but also these heroic decks tend to just be a little mulligan heavy, as they tend to need a creature plus some things to keep them going. So, you know, we saw the Laguna Brand Trailblazer and the Battle-Wise Hoplite, but the Battle-Wise Hoplite didn't come down for quite a while, and potentially if Dylan had been able to deal with the Laguna Brand Trailblazer relatively early into the game, he would not have been in such a tough spot later, as he might have been able to just get some nice attacks in there with the, with his creatures. Getting a look at Dylan's hand from this angle here, you guys see a Wild Slash, a G2 Lava Runner, some Mountains. So the hand looks pretty appealing to me at a glance. Soulscar Mage, another card that's pretty interesting in this matchup, as Dylan could certainly have a way to potentially, you know, you combine multiple burn spells to take out the equipped threats on Cameron's side, and that could really win a game. I mean, obviously you'll get prowess triggers at the end, and oh boy, there's the Leyline of Sanctity that we talked about. So Dylan's going to have a tough time, and there is that Soulscar Mage that I talked about being potentially interesting. So now Dylan's going to have to go all the distance with just creatures. His burn spells are going to be solely on creature removal duty, which, you know what, I actually think might be mostly their plan anyway, so definitely don't absolutely hate the plan. So we've got Soulscar Mage and G2 Lava Runner attempting to run things up. Battlewise Hoplite will get taken down immediately by a Wild Slash. Here comes a third Mountain and a Bone Crusher Giant, and Dylan's just going to attack for 2 here, and, well, we can already see Dylan's plan. Hopefully he's got a little bit of backup removal spells to be able to take out the second copy of Battlewise Hoplite here. We'll see if Cameron wants to deploy it. Not certain if he's got anything to put on it immediately to give it a +1/+1 counter or not. See an Ordeal of Thassa in his hand, as I believe I see an Aqueous Form, but no land. Means that if Dylan has another way to remove the creature, and yeah, he does, it's Stomp. So Stomp's going to take out the Battlewise Hoplite. It's going to give prowess triggers. Unfortunately, no second instant or sorcery in the bin for the G2 Lava Runner, however. But here comes an attack for a lot. And yeah, that's just enough for Cameron. That's a very good hand from Dylan. Despite the Leyline of Sanctity, Dylan just 2 pieces of cheap kill spells plus a lot of creatures to back up the clock. Means that he's got way too fast of clock. Cameron misses on lands, and yeah, that's a game 2 that lasted about a whole 2 minutes or whatnot. I think the players spent more time shuffling for game 2 than game 2 actually took. So now we're going on to game number 3, and Dylan's going to need more games that play out exactly like that for sure in order to be able to effectively take down this game. There's some promos getting handed out on screen, so you can see. If you guys are interested in playing at the shop, promos are pretty regular. Dylan got a sweet copy of, I believe that is Scorching Fire, I do believe, and a Kenris Transformation over there for Cameron. That card, standard playable somehow, so Slaying Fire. It is Slaying Fire. Yes, of course, my bad. Ooh, Improbable Alliance. Somebody showing off their sweet Improbable Alliance. Improbable Alliance, definitely another card that actually sees standard play. So get some sweet standard playable promos just for showing up, so not too shabby. Of course, Pioneer, a different beast altogether. Looks like Cameron will take another mulligan, and Dylan happy to keep his 7-card hand here, it appears. Of course, Dylan probably hoping as well to see no more copies of Leyline of the Void. We get a good look at Dylan's hand here. It's Lightning Strike, Bone Crusher Giant, 2 copies of Light Up the Stage, 2 lands, and I think that was another copy of Wizard's Lightning as well. So just mono burn spells here from Dylan's side, and I believe that with a hand like this, Dylan's just going to be playing mono-red control in this matchup, essentially. Just keep every creature that Cameron tries to play off the battlefield. I think the card that he least wants to see is going to be in Hoplite, as the 4 toughness is going to be really tough for Dylan to actually deal with here. But looks like Cameron, onto a mulligan to 5 here now. 5 cards is going to be tough against that hand that we saw Dylan show the camera. As, like I said, Dylan's plan is really going to be just try and kill everything you play and, you know, eventually win the game, because your deck's going to have so many blanks in it if you don't have a creature in play that you're just going to draw blanks, and eventually I'll put a creature into play and then, you know, turn the corner and kill you with it. But, oh no. Is this a mulligan to 4 from Cameron? Well, this is, it gets more and more grim every time he goes back to shuffling. This is gonna be rough. We saw somebody almost win on a mulligan to 4 the other day, and it was a damn good fight that they put up. Unfortunately, I can't quite recall the name of who it was, but I was rather impressed with how good the game was. Oh, I believe it was Bryant. Bryant put up a real fight on a mull to 4, but alas, was not able to take the victory. Oh no, it was David. It was David Pierce. I'm sorry. Yes, now I remember. All right, so taking a look at 7 cards. 7 will become 4 here in just a moment. Looks like he may be happy to keep this one as he's taking a think as to what has to go away now. Probably looking at a type of hand that's 2 lands, creature, spell. That's obviously the ideal hand here from Cameron. He'll put the 3 on the bottom. He is on the play as well, so very, very behind in terms of resources this game, and functionality certainly an issue as well, as Port Town enters the battlefield tapped. Mountain Go from Dylan. Probably a little bit of a relief here from Cameron as well, as now we will see Favorite Hoplite enter the battlefield. That one just gets immediately Wild Slashed from Dylan. Another Wild Slash off the top is Castle Amberith will be his choice for turn. Send it back over. A land from Cameron. He's thinking now if he wants to play his Battle-Wise Hoplite. Looks like he is just going to send the turn back over to Dylan. Dylan will stomp him at end step now, and now goes back over to Dylan. Dylan looks like he's just going to be content to cast his Bone Crusher Giant this turn. And now Cameron's still missing lands. Now he's just going to go ahead and take the opportunity to cast his Battle-Wise Hoplite. Happy that he hopefully baited out at least 1 burn spell, but a second copy of Wild Slash, of course, we knew he had it. We'll take that down. And then an attack 4/6, light up the stage to follow things up. Monastery Swiftspear, Eidolon of the Great Revel. No relief in sight for Cameron, and unfortunately, the Mulligans just do him in. And, well, a matchup that I thought was going to be pretty good for him ended up going Dylan's way post-board. And I did like Cameron's post-board plan here. Leyline of Sanctity, definitely a real powerhouse, as well as some other very powerful gain life abilities. So if Cameron managed to find, really functional hands, he probably would have ran away with the game, but unfortunately mana trouble in the second game, and then a mulligan to 4, obviously backbreaking in game number 3, means that we'll see Dylan advance to 3-0 on tonight's event. So congratulations to Dylan, and with that will be the last round for our stream. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to be back tomorrow night with the Theros Beyond Death pre-release. So we're going to be watching Sealed here for Friday Night Magic. That will be tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. You definitely want to be here for this. Make sure you're here for the pre-release. If you can't make it to the actual store, obviously we'll be streaming, and you're going to have to bear with me here, as I'm certain I won't know quite all the cards just yet. I get tested every now and again. I definitely know most of the cards in the game at this point. I've been playing for a long time, but new sets are going to be tough. I'm going to do my best. I've been doing my research, so I'm hoping to be mostly equipped for the event. So I'm going to be excited for the Theros Beyond Death pre-release. We're going to be doing them all weekend. We'll only be streaming the one on Friday as far as I'm aware, but we will be doing them all weekend. And if you're interested in knowing our schedule for that, you can go to our website and click that little Theros Beyond Death tab, and you'll be able to know all of our pre-release times, all of the prices, all of the events, everything like that, as well as our buy list in case you open some sweet mythics, but you don't really need them quite yet. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Make sure you don't miss it. And if you missed any of this stream, go ahead and check out the Podvod on YouTube. It'll be up just a little bit later tonight. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow night.